The champagne flutes clinked like tiny bells across the reception hall, 200 voices rising in laughter and celebration. White roses draped every surface of the Lakeside Manor ballroom, their petals catching the amber glow of crystal chandeliers. My daughter, stood at the microphone in her ivory wedding gown, her blonde hair cascading over bare shoulders, blue eyes shimmering with tears of joy. Emily, my sweet Emily. 28 years of birthday parties and scraped knees and mother-daughter coffee dates, all building to this perfect moment. If you're watching this, I want you to understand something. There are betrayals that cut skin, and then there are betrayals that hollow you out from the inside, leaving nothing but a shell pretending to be human. What happened to me that day? It was the second kind. I want to thank my parents, Emily said, her voice catching with emotion. My mom especially. She sacrificed everything for me, her career, her dreams, her whole life. Mom, you taught me what love looks like. I felt Mark's hand find mine under the table. His palm was sweating. Strange, I thought, for a man who normally had ice water in his veins. His smile looked painted on, lips stretched too tight across his teeth. But I smiled back, playing my role. That's what I'd been doing for 28 years, wasn't it? Playing the dutiful wife while the ballroom doors burst open. A courier in a brown uniform strode through the crowd, clutching a manila envelope. Guests turned, confused. The string quartet faltered mid-note. Emily paused, microphone still raised. "Urgent delivery for Sarah Thompson," the courier called out. Scanning the head table. "Requires immediate signature." My stomach dropped. I knew that envelope. The DNA testing company logo gleamed in the corner. That ancestry kit Emily and I had ordered during one of our girls' nights 2 years ago, when we'd laughed about discovering we were secretly Irish royalty or descended from Vikings. The results had been delayed, forgotten in the chaos of wedding planning. But why now? Why hand-delivered? Why urgent? "Ma'am?" The courier stood before me, pen extended. Mark's hand crushed mine. "Sarah, it's just DNA results, honey," I said, my voice steady even as something cold crawled up my spine. I signed. The envelope landed on the white tablecloth between our plates like a grenade. 200 pairs of eyes watched me. Emily had gone silent at the microphone. My fingers trembled as I tore the seal. The page was simple, clinical. 3 lines that ended my world. Genetic relationship analysis. Sarah Thompson and Emily Thompson. Probability of parent-child relationship, 0.0%. The ballroom tilted, distorted. Faces blurred into abstract smears of color. Someone gasped. Was that me? The paper slipped from my hands, floating down in slow motion, settling beside the wedding cake tier that read, "Love always wins," in delicate cursive. 0%. Not my daughter. The girl I'd carried for 9 agonizing months. The baby I'd nearly died bringing into this world. The child I'd rocked through midnight fevers and first heartbreaks. Not mine. Not biologically mine. I looked up. Mark had gone white as the roses around us. Not confused, not shocked, guilty. "Mom?" Emily's voice cracked across the microphone. "Mom, what's wrong?" Everything clicked into place with the brutal clarity of a bone snapping. All those little inconsistencies I'd explained away, rationalized, swallowed down because questioning felt like betrayal. Emily's blue eyes when Mark and I both had brown. Her severe nut allergy I didn't share. The way Mark tensed whenever I brought out baby photos. His panic when I'd suggested the ancestry kits. The smell of lilies and expensive perfume turned acrid in my nostrils. Guests whispered, a rising tide of confusion and scandal. I could feel their judgment, their pity, their excitement at being present for such spectacular disaster. But underneath my shock, underneath the soul-crushing realization that my entire motherhood had been built on a lie, something else stirred. Something cold and patient and absolutely merciless. See? There was something my lying, cheating, thieving husband didn't know about me. Something he'd dismissed 28 years ago when he convinced me to abandon my accounting degree, to stay home, to let him handle our finances while I handled diapers and PTA meetings. I'd kept records, every single receipt, every bank statement, every business trip hotel charge, old habits from my college days, back when I dreamed of opening my own forensic accounting firm, back before Mark had looked at me with those warm hazel eyes and promised me the world. I'd tracked every dollar he'd stolen from my parents' inheritance, every mysterious transfer to offshore accounts he thought I was too paranoid and broken to notice, every piece of the empire he'd built on the ashes of my trust. If you've ever been betrayed by someone you loved, hit that subscribe button right now, because what I'm about to tell you isn't just a story about revenge. It's a masterclass in patience, in planning, in understanding that the best way to destroy someone isn't with rage, it's with receipts. Mark reached for my hand again. "Sarah, let me explain." I pulled away, stood. The chair scraped against polished wood, sharp as a scream. "Not here," I whispered. Around us, 200 guests pretended not to stare while absolutely staring. Emily stood frozen at the microphone, tears streaming down her face. My heart shattered for her. Whatever Mark had done, she was innocent. She would always be my daughter. Biology be damned. But Mark? Mark was going to pay for every lie, every theft, every moment he'd made me doubt my own sanity. I just had to make sure I did it right. The hotel hallway smelled like industrial carpet cleaner and other people's celebrations. Bass from the reception thumped through the walls as I dragged Mark past framed watercolors of sailboats and seagulls. His designer suit, paid for with money he'd embezzled from our joint accounts, crumpled under my grip. "Let go, Sarah, you're making a scene." "Making a scene?" I shoved him into an empty conference room and slammed the door. "Tell me what that paper means. Tell me right now." Mark's face cycled through expressions like a slot machine, fear, calculation, false concern, then finally settling on exhausted resignation. He sagged against the conference table, suddenly looking every one of his 50 years. "It was an accident," he started. "An accident? You accidentally raised someone else's child as mine for 28 years? No, God, Sarah." He ran his hands through his graying hair. That same gesture he'd used 1,000 times when I questioned hotel receipts or mysterious cash withdrawals. The gesture that meant he was preparing a lie. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. My hands shook. I forced them still, pressing my palms against my thighs. Accountant training. When the numbers don't make sense, stay calm. Gather more data. Start from the beginning. Everything. He looked at me then. Really looked. And maybe he saw something in my face that scared him, because he started talking. Lisa. Her name was Lisa. We worked together at the firm before you got pregnant. It was stupid, Sarah. A mistake. A few months of stupidity. You were cheating on me. Not a question. Confirmation of what I'd suspected for 28 years. What he'd called paranoia. What he'd used to make me feel crazy. She got pregnant. Mark's voice dropped. Same time as you. I panicked. I was going to leave her, end it, but then... His breath hitched. Your labor. It was bad. So bad. I remembered. The pain that felt like my body was tearing itself apart. The blood. Too much blood. The doctor's grim face. The baby that came out silent. Our daughter died, Mark whispered. Our biological daughter, stillborn. They told me while you were sedated. You were hemorrhaging. The doctors thought they might lose you, too. So you swapped the babies. Ice crystallized in my chest. Lisa's baby for ours. I couldn't lose you both. His voice cracked. You would have died from grief, Sarah. Your own mother died from a broken heart after your father passed. I couldn't let that happen to you. And Emily? Lisa didn't want her. She just wanted money. My parents' inheritance. Mark flinched. There it was, confirmation of the second crime layered beneath the first. I paid her to disappear, to start over somewhere else. It was for us, Sarah. For our family. For your convenience. Rage bubbled up hot and toxic. You stole my baby. You stole my money. You let me grieve a ghost while raising another woman's child. Emily is yours, in every way that matters. Don't. I held up a hand, afraid I might hit him if he came closer. Don't you dare use her as justification. Where is Lisa now? Gone. New Mexico. Maybe Arizona. She took the money and left years ago. He was lying. I knew Mark's tells after 3 decades, the way his left eye twitched, how he touched his wedding ring. He'd been doing it throughout this whole confession. What else aren't you telling me? Nothing. Sarah, that's everything, I swear. The door opened. Emily stood there, mascara streaking her face, Alex hovering behind her. My beautiful girl who wasn't my DNA but would always be my heart. Is it true? Emily's voice barely rose above a whisper. About the baby swap? I wanted to lie. Wanted to protect her the way I'd always protected her from Mark's manipulation, his coldness, his obsession with appearances. But she deserved truth. Yes, Emily crumpled. Alex caught her, shooting Mark a look of pure hatred. Good man, I thought distantly. He loved her enough to be furious on her behalf. I'm so sorry, sweetheart, Mark stammered. I did it for your mother, for us. Get out, Emily said. Emmy, get out! She screamed at this time, and something in Mark's face finally broke. He stumbled toward the door, then paused beside me. Sarah, please. We can fix this, as a family. I looked at the man I'd married, the man who'd stolen my motherhood and my inheritance and 28 years of trust, and I made a decision. Go back to the reception, I said quietly. Smile. Tell everyone I had a panic attack, that I'm fine now. Make excuses, you're good at that. Relief flooded his features. Yes, okay. We'll get through this. We'll talk at home, after. He left. The door clicked shut. Emily buried her face in Alex's shoulder. Mom, I'm so sorry. Your wedding day. Hey. I pulled her into my arms, felt her shake with sobs. You are my daughter. That doesn't change, not ever. But I'm not really yours. You're mine. I said it fiercely, meaning every word. Biology is just blood. Love is what makes family, and I have loved you every single day since I held you in that hospital room. It was true. Every word. Emily was my daughter, in every way that mattered. But Mark had built our entire marriage on lies and theft. He'd gaslit me for decades, stolen my parents' legacy, and swapped my child like she was a commodity to be traded. And he thought I'd forgive him. Thought I'd sweep it under the rug to keep up appearances, like I had with his affairs, his abuse, his financial manipulation. He'd underestimated me. As Emily cried in my arms, as the wedding reception limped along without us, as Mark undoubtedly spun his web of excuses to our guests, I made a list in my head, all the evidence I'd collected over the years, bank statements in my hidden safe, receipts for hotels and jewelry I'd never received. The offshore account numbers I'd found 6 years ago and photographed. Mark thought he'd controlled me, broken me, made me too weak to fight back. But accountants don't get mad. We get even. And I was about to balance the books. We left the reception early, citing my panic attack. Alex drove Emily home to their apartment. Mark and I rode in silence, his Mercedes gliding through Chicago's suburbs where every perfect house held its own secrets. He kept glancing at me, nervous. We should talk to a therapist, process this together. I said nothing. Just watched the streetlights blur past. Home felt different when we pulled into the driveway. The house Mark's real estate money had bought. Money that was really mine, stolen and laundered through fake investments. 28 years of my life contained in these walls. Inside, Mark poured himself scotch. Sarah, I know you're angry. Get me the account numbers. What? The offshore accounts, where you put my parents' money. I want every number, every password, every detail. He laughed, actually laughed, relief making him giddy. You want to see the investments? Sarah, I can explain all of that. The market's been volatile, but I want to see where my inheritance went." His smile faltered. "It's our money. I invested it for our future." "Show me." Something in my tone made him pause. His eyes narrowed, calculating. "You've been drinking. Let's talk in the morning when you're calmer." I walked upstairs without another word. In our bedroom, I locked the door and went to my closet. Behind the shoe rack, hidden in a false panel I'd installed myself 5 years ago, was a fireproof safe. Inside, USB drives, photograph prints, handwritten ledgers, and my meticulous accounting script. 28 years of evidence compiled by a woman everyone thought was too broken to notice being robbed. Bank statements showing transfers to offshore accounts. Credit card receipts from hotels and restaurants during Mark's business trips. Legal documents about our joint investments, with my forged signature on papers I'd never seen. Photos of Mark with different women over the years, including one blonde I'd bet anything was named Lisa. And underneath it all, the original hospital bracelet from Emily's birth, with a different last name printed on it. I'd found it years ago in Mark's desk, hidden in an envelope marked insurance documents. I'd known something was wrong. Deep down in that place women learn to ignore because we're told we're paranoid. Hysterical. Crazy. I'd known, and I'd kept proof. Tomorrow I'd find a lawyer, a forensic accountant, a private investigator. I'd build an airtight case for fraud, embezzlement, identity theft, and every other crime Mark had committed. But tonight, I just sat on my closet floor, surrounded by evidence of my stolen life, and let myself feel the full weight of his betrayal. He'd stolen my baby, my money, my autonomy. He'd thought he'd broken me. But what Mark didn't understand was that broken things could be reforged, made stronger, sharper, deadly. I pulled out my phone and texted Emily, "I love you. We'll get through this, together." Her response came immediately. "I love you too, Mom. Always." Then I opened a new message to a number I'd saved years ago but never called. Janet Reeves, my college roommate who'd gone on to become one of Chicago's premier forensic accountants. "Janet, it's Sarah. Remember you said if I ever needed help to call? I need help. Tomorrow. Please." The reply took 3 minutes. "I've been waiting for this text for 20 years. I'll bring everything we need. Time to take him down." I smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. Mark thought this was over, thought his tears and partial confession had bought him forgiveness. He was wrong. He stole my baby, my money, my life. Now I was going to take it all back. If you want to see how I destroyed the man who betrayed me, hit that subscribe button, because justice isn't just coming, it's already been calculated to the penny, and the interest on 28 years of lies, it's going to cost him everything. The morning after the wedding, I woke up with Mark's betrayal sitting on my chest like a tombstone. He was already gone, left early for emergency client meeting, which meant he was panicking, scrambling to cover tracks he didn't even know were already exposed. I made coffee, sat at our kitchen table, opened my laptop. The old Sarah would have cried, would have called friends, seeking comfort and validation, would have confronted Mark again, begging for more truth, more explanation, more crumbs of closure. But I wasn't that Sarah anymore. That Sarah had died somewhere between reading 0% Genetic Match and realizing my entire life was constructed from lies. The new Sarah? She understood something fundamental. Rage was useless without strategy, and strategy required information. I pulled up the folder on my desktop labeled Household Files 1997-2025. 28 years of receipts, bank statements, credit card bills, investment documents, all scanned, all organized by date. Mark thought I'd abandoned my accounting degree, thought I'd become soft, manageable, financially illiterate. He'd forgotten that numbers don't lie. Only people do. By noon, I'd compiled a preliminary assessment. At minimum, $847,000 in traceable theft from my parents' inheritance and our joint investments. But the offshore accounts Mark had been so careful to hide, those were black holes I couldn't penetrate alone. I needed help. I texted Janet, "Coffee? Today?" Her reply came instantly. My office, 2 p.m. Bring everything. Janet's forensic accounting firm occupied the 14th floor of a glass tower in downtown Chicago. Professional, legitimate, the kind of place that destroyed financial criminals with spreadsheets and subpoenas. She met me in the lobby herself, tall, black, elegant, in a navy suit that screamed competence. We'd shared a dorm room freshman year, back when I dreamed of doing exactly what she was doing now. Sarah, she pulled me into a hug. 20 years. 20 goddamn years I've been waiting for you to leave him. My throat tightened. You knew? Suspected. The way he isolated you, controlled everything. She guided me to her private office, closed the door. What finally did it? I told her. All of it. The DNA test, the baby swap, Lisa, the stolen inheritance. Janet's face cycled through shock, fury, and finally settling on cold calculation. That's fraud, identity theft, conspiracy, embezzlement. She was already taking notes. Possibly kidnapping, depending on how we frame the baby swap. Sarah, this is criminal, not just divorce court, prison. Good. She looked up, startled by the ice in my voice. I don't want a divorce settlement, I said. I want everything. His business, his reputation, his freedom. I want him to lose it all, the way he made me lose myself. Janet smiled. Then let's build a case. But first, she said, we needed more information. Financial documents alone wouldn't tell us everything. We needed to know where Mark had hidden assets, whether Lisa was still receiving payments, if there were other victims. I know someone, Janet said, scribbling a name and number. Raymond Cross, private investigator, expensive, discreet, and completely ruthless. He specializes in asset recovery and infidelity cases. How expensive? $10,000 retainer. I thought of my secret emergency fund, cash I'd been siphoning from grocery budgets and gift money for 15 years, hidden in a safety deposit box Mark didn't know existed. $23,000, my escape money. Set up a meeting. 2 days later, I sat across from Raymond Cross in a coffee shop 3 towns over. He looked like a retired cop, 50s, graying hair, eyes that had seen too much. He sipped black coffee and read through the summary Janet had prepared. Your husband's sloppy, he said finally, arrogant. That's good for us. Can you find Lisa? Already did preliminary work. He slid a folder across the table. Lisa Martinez lives in Scottsdale, Arizona. Gated community, expensive car, frequent luxury vacations. All funded by monthly wire transfers from an account in your husband's name. My hands shook as I opened the folder. Photos of a blonde woman in her 50s, still beautiful, dripping with jewelry. Lisa, the woman who'd sold my baby. She has a daughter, Raymond continued. Sophia Martinez, 28 years old, recently lost her job, living with Lisa. According to social media, she's struggling. My daughter, my biological daughter. The baby I'd thought died living in Arizona, completely unaware her entire existence was built on theft and lies. I need to know everything, I said. Where Mark's assets are hidden, whether he's planning anything, his communications with Lisa. Everything. Raymond nodded. It'll take 2 weeks, maybe 3. And Sarah? He met my eyes. What we find, it might be worse than you think. Men like Mark. They don't stop at one crime. I know. I paid him half the retainer in cash, kept the folder with Lisa and Sophia's information, drove home with my biological daughter's face burned into my brain. She had my eyes, my smile, my mother's nose, and she had no idea I existed. Janet worked fast. Within a week, she'd assembled a financial timeline that made me want to vomit. We sat in her office, surrounded by printouts and highlighted spreadsheets. The evidence was damning, systematic, cruel. Your parents left you $425,000 when they died, Janet said, pointing to a 2008 bank statement. Mark convinced you to put it in a joint investment account. Remember? I remembered. He'd said it was safer, smarter, that his financial advisor would make it grow. That money was transferred to an offshore account in the Cayman Islands within 6 months. He used a shell corporation, Thompson Holdings, LLC. All the paperwork has your forged signature. She showed me documents I'd never seen, my name in handwriting that wasn't mine, notarized by a notary who probably didn't exist. Then there's the real estate business, Janet continued. Mark's success? Built entirely on your inheritance. He used that initial capital to secure loans, buy properties, flip them. On paper, he's a self-made millionaire. In reality, he's a thief. The next set of documents showed Mark's monthly transfers to Lisa, $5,000, every month, for 28 years. That's $168 million, I whispered, plus interest he could have earned investing it. Sarah, he's stolen conservatively $2.1 million from you over 3 decades, and that's just what I can trace so far. My vision swam. $2 million. My parents' legacy, my future, my security, fed to his mistress and hidden in offshore accounts while he told me we couldn't afford to fix the roof or take a vacation. There's more. Janet's voice gentled. He took out life insurance on you, big policy, $2 million, named himself sole beneficiary. The air left my lungs. When? I managed. 5 years ago, right after your cancer scare. I'd had a suspicious mammogram 5 years back. Turned out benign, but for 3 terrifying weeks, I'd thought I was dying. Mark had been so supportive, so loving, holding my hand through appointments, promising we'd fight it together. And he'd been planning my death, insuring it, monetizing it. He's a monster, Janet said quietly. No. I stood, paced to her window. Chicago sprawled below, indifferent and bright. Monsters don't plan. They don't calculate. Mark is worse. He's a businessman, and I'm going to bankrupt him. Janet pulled up another document. Then you'll love this. I filed an emergency motion this morning, court order freezing all joint accounts pending marital dispute review. Legal jargon that means Mark can't touch your money while we investigate. My first small victory. It tasted like copper and satisfaction. He'll get the notice tomorrow, Janet said. Be ready for fallout. I installed the cameras on a Tuesday morning while Mark was at work. Tiny things, hidden in smoke detectors and picture frames. The technician, recommended by Raymond, taught me how to access the feeds from my phone. This is legal? I asked. It's your house. You're documenting your own property. He shrugged. What you do with the footage is between you and your lawyer. That night, Mark came home late, poured scotch, went to his study, the room he'd claimed as his private office, off limits to me for work confidentiality. I watched the camera feed from our bedroom, headphones in. He called Lisa first. The accounts are frozen. Someone filed a court motion. Lisa's voice crackled through. What do you mean frozen? Mark, I need next month's payment. I'm handling it. It's probably just bank error. You said she didn't know anything. You said she was too stupid. She is too stupid, Mark snapped. Sarah can barely balance a checkbook. This is something else. Maybe her friend, that accountant. Then fix it. I've been living off your money for almost 30 years. If it stops, it won't stop. I'll move assets, restructure. She's too broken to fight me. All I have to do is keep her calm until I can transfer everything offshore. She won't leave. She's scared of being alone. My hands clenched around my phone. Too stupid. Too broken. Too scared. He'd gaslit me so completely, he genuinely believed I was helpless. The next call was to someone named Richard. A lawyer, I realized, listening to Mark explain he wanted to initiate divorce proceedings. Frame it as mental instability, Mark said. She had a public breakdown at our daughter's wedding. Witnesses everywhere. With her psychiatric history, the postpartum depression, the anxiety, we can argue she's unfit to manage marital assets. What about the daughter? Richard asked. Emily? She'll side with me once I explain Sarah's instability. Kid worships me. Rage, white-hot and clarifying, burned through my chest. He was going to take everything, my money, my daughter, my sanity, and call it justified. I saved the recordings, backed them up to 3 separate drives, sent copies to Janet. Then I texted Emily, "Breakfast tomorrow? Just us?" Her reply, "Always. Love you, Mom." Mark thought Emily worshipped him, but he'd never paid attention to the mother-daughter bond he couldn't break, no matter how hard he tried. That was going to be his first mistake. Raymond's full report arrived 10 days after the wedding. 200 pages of documented fraud, infidelity, and conspiracy. I read it in my car, parked at a forest preserve where Mark would never think to look for me. Lisa Martinez wasn't just receiving payments, she was actively involved in ongoing fraud. She'd helped Mark forge documents, hide assets, even intimidate a former business partner who'd questioned missing funds. But the real revelation was on page 47. Subject Lisa Martinez maintains regular contact with Margaret Chen, RN, retired, currently residing at Meadowbrook Senior Living, Naperville, IL. Chen was the night shift nurse on duty at Northwestern Memorial Hospital on March 15, 1997, the night of the baby swap. Phone records show monthly calls between Martinez and Chen for past 28 years. The nurse, the woman who'd actually switched the babies. She was alive, local, and apparently still in contact with Lisa. I had her. I called Lisa from a burner phone Raymond had provided, altered my voice slightly, higher, younger, enthusiastic. "Hi, Miss Martinez. This is Jessica from Miracle Stories magazine. We're doing a feature on medical miracles and second chances, and your name came up in our research. Would you be interested in sharing your story?" Silence then. My story. About overcoming difficult circumstances to provide for your daughter. We understand you had some challenges early on but persevered. Very inspiring. We'd pay $5,000 for an exclusive interview. The magic words, exclusive and $5,000. Lisa's greed was predictable as gravity. When? We set up a meeting at a Scottsdale cafe. Raymond would pose as the photographer. I'd pose as Jessica, wearing a wig and glasses. If Lisa recognized me from wedding photos, we'd abort. But Mark had always kept me separate from his business life. Lisa probably had no idea what I looked like. 3 days later, I sat across from the woman who'd bought my baby. Lisa Martinez was elegant in her late 50s, wearing designer sunglasses and expensive jewelry, purchased with my inheritance. She ordered a $12 latte and smiled at me like we were old friends. "So," she said, "what's this miracle story about?" I pressed record on the hidden device in my purse. "We're fascinated by mothers who've made sacrifices for their children. I understand you had your daughter in difficult circumstances?" "Oh, well." Lisa waved her hand. "Teen pregnancy. Okay, I was 22, but still young. The father wasn't interested in being involved." Lie number 1. "But you persevered," I prompted. "Raised her alone." "With help. The father, eventually, he did the right thing. Set us up financially. It wasn't child support, more like a generous settlement." "A settlement for what?" She paused, calculated, the promise of $5,000 won. "It's actually a crazy story," Lisa said, leaning in conspiratorially. "You can't publish names, right? Complete anonymity. We change all identifying details." "Okay, so." She lowered her voice. "The father was married. His wife, she had a difficult pregnancy, high risk. And when she delivered," Lisa's eyes gleamed. "The baby didn't make it. Stillborn." My coffee tasted like ash. "That's terrible," I managed. It was. Tragic. But the father, he was desperate. His wife was unstable, suicidal with grief. He thought losing the baby would kill her. Lisa paused dramatically. "So he offered me a deal. Take my baby, his biological child, and let him raise her as theirs. The wife would never know. I'd get enough money to start over, no strings attached." You agreed to give up your child?" "I was 22. No support system, no money, no future. He offered me $500,000. $500,000. She sipped her latte. "Plus monthly support. I'd have been stupid to say no. Raymond's camera clicked softly. Lisa smiled for it, pleased to be the center of attention. "Didn't you feel guilty?" I asked. "About the wife?" "Why? She got a baby. I got a life. Win-win." Lisa shrugged. "Besides, genetics aren't everything. That woman raised my daughter like her own. Last I heard, they were close. So really, I did everyone a favor. I wanted to throw the coffee in her face, wanted to scream that I was that woman, that she'd stolen 28 years of my biological child's life. Instead, I smiled. One more question. Did anyone help facilitate the exchange?" "Oh." Lisa hesitated. "There was a nurse, Margaret something. She felt terrible about it, kept calling me for years, crying about guilt. I had to block her eventually." "Does the daughter know?" "God, no. She thinks I'm her biological mother. The father insisted we keep it secret, paid extra for my silence. And you've kept that silence. For almost 30 years, though." Lisa's expression shifted, worried. "Lately, things have been weird. Money's been delayed. The father's been cagey. I'm starting to think his wife found out something." "Why would you think that?" "Just a feeling, like something's shifting." She looked at Raymond's camera. "That's not going in the article, right? The money stuff?" No, I assured her. "We just want the heartwarming story of sacrifice and motherhood." She relaxed, preened, told me more. About Sophia's struggles, about how Lisa had spent the inheritance money on luxury instead of her daughter's education. About how she'd forged documents and lied to maintain the charade. All of it recorded. All of it admissible. When we finished, I promised the check would arrive in 2 weeks. Lisa left happy, oblivious that she'd just confessed to fraud, conspiracy, and child trafficking. Raymond packed up his camera. "That was almost too easy." "She's greedy and stupid," I said. "Fatal combination." "What about the nurse? Margaret Chen?" I pulled out my phone, looked up Meadowbrook Senior Living. Time for a confession. Margaret Chen was folding donated clothes in the Senior Living Center's common room when I found her. 70 years old, gray hair in a neat bun, hands that still moved with a nurse's efficiency. "Margaret?" I approached carefully. "My name is Sarah Thompson. I think you knew my husband, Mark Thompson." Her hands stilled. The color drained from her face. I'm sorry, I don't." "Northwestern Memorial, March 15, 1997. You were the night shift nurse who switched 2 babies at my husband's request." She sat down hard, clothes falling from her lap. "Oh, God." "I'm not here to hurt you," I said, sitting beside her. "I'm here for the truth." Margaret started crying. Quiet, decades-old tears. "I've prayed for forgiveness every single day for 28 years. Tell me what happened." It poured out of her. How Mark had approached her during my difficult labor, panicked and desperate. How he'd explained his mistress had just delivered upstairs, that my baby had been stillborn, that I might not survive the grief. "He offered me $50,000, Margaret whispered. "My mother had Alzheimer's. The care was bankrupting me. I was desperate. And he made it sound like mercy, like I'd be saving you. You stole my child." "I know." She looked at me, broken. "I know what I did. I've lived with it every day. When Lisa started calling me, crying about guilt, I thought, maybe that's my punishment, knowing what I took from you." "Do you have proof? Records?" Margaret nodded slowly. "I kept copies of everything. The original birth certificates, the hospital logs, my shift notes. I was terrified I'd be caught. Thought if I had documentation, I could explain, maybe get immunity." She laughed bitterly. "But nobody ever investigated. I just lived with the guilt. I need those documents." She studied me. "You're going to prosecute him." "I'm going to destroy him." "Good." Margaret stood on shaky legs. "Wait here." She returned with a manila envelope, edges yellowed with age. Inside, original birth records showing baby girl Thompson, deceased, and baby girl Martinez, alive. shift logs with Margaret's notes about the exchange, even a photocopy of Mark's $50,000 cashier's check. "I'll testify," Margaret said. "Whatever you need. I'm 70 years old. Maybe I can finally make this right." I took the envelope. "You'll get immunity. My lawyer will make sure of it." "I don't want immunity. I want forgiveness." She gripped my hand. "From you, from God, from that baby I stole." "You'll never get it from me," I said honestly, "but you'll get justice. That's the best I can offer." Emily came to my new apartment, a place I'd rented in secret, somewhere to meet people without Mark's surveillance. She brought coffee and worry. "Mom, you've been different since the wedding, distant." I'd been protecting her, keeping her away from the ugliness while I built my case. But Emily deserved truth. "I need to show you something." I opened the laptop, showed her the financial records Janet had compiled, the offshore accounts, the forged signatures, the life insurance policy Mark had taken out on me. Emily's face went white. "He stole from you. From us. There's more." I showed her Mark's recorded conversation, his plan to frame me as unstable, to take everything in a divorce. "That bastard," Emily's voice shook. "That absolute bastard. He tried to borrow money from you too, didn't he?" She looked up, startled. "How did you—" "Yes, 50,000. Said it was for a business opportunity. I told Alex no, something felt wrong." "Good instincts." Emily stood, paced my small apartment. "What are you going to do? Divorce him, prosecute him, take back everything he stole?" "I want to help." "Emily, he's not my biological father. He stole you from your actual daughter. He made our entire family a lie." Her eyes burned. "I want to help you destroy him." I pulled her into a hug. "Okay, then here's what I need you to do." I explained. Emily would act normal around Mark, pretend everything was fine, but she'd also start documenting his behavior, recording conversations, saving texts, gathering evidence of his manipulation. "He thinks you worship him," I said. "Use that. Let him feel safe." "I can do that." Emily pulled back, fierce. "He thinks we're both weak. Let's show him what Thompson women are really made of." Raymond arranged the meeting through a fake job recruitment agency. Sophia needed work. Lisa had spent all her money. She jumped at the chance for an administrative assistant interview. I almost lost my nerve when she walked into the coffee shop. 28 years old, brown hair like mine, my mother's nose, her grandmother's chin. Everything about her screamed my daughter in a way that made my chest ache. "Miss Thompson," she smiled, nervous. "Thank you for meeting me. Please call me Sarah." I gestured to the seat across from me. "Tell me about yourself." Sophia did. Art history degree. Dreams of museum curation, living with her mother after losing her job, struggling with anxiety that medication couldn't quite fix. "My mom says I'm too sensitive," Sophia said, laughing self-consciously, "that I need to toughen up." "Your mother is a liar who sold you," I wanted to say. Instead, sensitivity is strength. The world needs people who feel deeply. We talked for an hour about art, about ambition, about the disconnect between who we want to be and who we're allowed to become. Sophia was brilliant, funny, kind, everything I'd hoped my daughter would be. "I have to ask," Sophia said eventually, "why are you hiring in Chicago? There are plenty of candidates here in Scottsdale." "I'm expanding," I lied smoothly, "and I'm looking for someone with fresh perspective, someone who's not entrenched in the local scene." The real reason, I wanted to see her, wanted to know my biological daughter before I destroyed her mother's life. "I'd love the opportunity," Sophia said. "I've always wanted to move somewhere new, start over." "Then the job is yours. We'll handle relocation costs." Her face lit up. "Really? Thank you." "Ms. Thompson, Sarah, you have no idea what this means." "I'm your mother," I didn't say. "I've been looking for you for 28 years without knowing you existed." Instead, I gave her my card. "Start date is in 6 weeks. That should give you time to relocate." After she left, I sat in my car and sobbed. Rage and grief and something like hope all tangled together. Mark had stolen her from me, but I was taking her back, not through revelation, not yet. That would come later when she was strong enough to handle it. For now, I'd just be her employer, her friend, the woman who gave her a chance, the mother she didn't know she had. Tom Rivera was Mark's business partner, had been for 15 years. They'd built Thompson and Rivera properties together, flipping houses and commercial buildings across Chicago, or so I'd thought. Janet's investigation revealed that Mark had been embezzling from the company for years, using forged documents with my signature to secure loans, then funneling money to offshore accounts. Tom didn't know. Yet. I met him at his office. Professional building, legitimately nice. Tom was in his 60s, honest face, tired eyes. "Mrs. Thompson, your assistant said you had information about Mark." I laid out the evidence. Financial records showing Mark's theft, forged loan documents, the offshore accounts. Tom's face went from confusion to rage in 30 seconds. "That son of a bitch." He flipped through pages. "These signatures? That's not you? I've never seen these documents before in my life." He used company resources, my reputation. Tom stood, started pacing. "Do you know how many banks we're leveraged with? If this comes out, we're ruined. Not if you cooperate with authorities. Not if you testify that you had no knowledge of the fraud." Tom looked at me sharply. "You're prosecuting him." "Yes." "Good." He sat back down. "What do you need from me?" "Everything. Every suspicious transaction. Every time he asked you to sign something without reading it. Every instance where money disappeared." Tom pulled out his phone. "Give me 48 hours. I'll have a full audit." "There's something else." I leaned forward. "Mark is planning something. Divorce, maybe. Framing me as unstable. He'll try to take everything, including his half of your company. Over my dead body. He told his lawyer I'm mentally unfit, that I had a breakdown at my daughter's wedding. He's building a case to claim I can't manage assets." Tom's jaw clenched. 2 years ago, he tried to convince me to buy you out of a property investment. Said you were too emotional to handle business decisions. I refused. He's been setting this up for years. Timeline? 3 months, according to his partner. Maybe sooner now that accounts are frozen. Tom nodded slowly. "Then we move first. I'll file suit against him for embezzlement. Force his hand before he can frame you." Another small victory. Another ally. Mark's empire was cracking. He just didn't know it yet. I started acting erratic on a Monday, forgot appointments, left cryptic voicemails, cried at random moments, stopped showering daily, let the house get messy. Mark noticed immediately. "Sarah, are you okay?" False concern, hidden relief. He thought I was breaking. "I'm fine," I whispered, staring at nothing. "Everything's fine." I could see the calculation in his eyes. If I broke down completely, he could have me hospitalized, could claim I was unstable, incompetent, could take everything while I was locked away. He took the bait. I followed Mark to his lawyer's office using a GPS tracker Raymond had planted on his car. Sat outside the building wearing a wig and sunglasses. Watched him enter. The recording device I'd hidden in his briefcase caught everything. "She's losing it," Mark told Richard. "Complete breakdown, stops mid-conversation to cry, forgets things. Last night she accused me of stealing her toothbrush." Richard's voice. "That helps our case. Document everything, photos, videos, witnesses. How quickly can we move?" "With evidence of mental instability, 2 weeks, I can file an emergency petition for financial conservatorship. Argue she's a danger to marital assets. And custody of assets? Everything goes to you, the house, the business, investments. She'll get a small allowance, maybe, pending psychiatric evaluation." "What about Emily?" "The daughter. She's an adult, not a custody issue." "No, I mean, will she side with Sarah?" "Who cares? She has no legal claim to your assets." Mark laughed. "True. God, I've been waiting for this. 28 years of playing the patient husband to a broken woman. Finally done." "She never knew about the baby swap." "No, too stupid. I told you, Sarah can barely balance a checkbook. She thinks I handle finances because I'm better at it. Has no idea I've been moving her money offshore for decades. And the mistress? Lisa's handled. Promised her a cut of the divorce settlement. She'll stay quiet. My hands shook, listening to it. Every suspicion confirmed, every doubt validated. He'd always planned this, slowly, methodically stripping me of everything until there was nothing left to take. But what Mark didn't know? I'd been recording him for weeks, and now I had his lawyer on tape discussing fraud, conspiracy, and financial abuse. I sent the file to Janet with a simple message. Game over. Things started happening fast. Janet secured a court order freezing all Mark's accounts, personal and business, not just the joint ones, everything. Raymond delivered Lisa her interview payment, a check that was really a signed confession. In accepting it, she'd acknowledged every detail of our recorded conversation. Emily filed a police report about Mark's attempted loan scam. Nothing major, just enough to establish pattern of fraud. Tom Rivera filed a civil suit against Mark for embezzlement and forgery. Company assets frozen pending investigation. I visited Sophia again, confirmed her start date. She was glowing with excitement about the move to Chicago. "I can't thank you enough," she said. "My mom's not happy about me leaving, but I need this, need to build my own life." "You deserve every opportunity," I told her, and meant it. The walls were closing in on Mark. He just couldn't see them yet. Mark came home Thursday night in a rage. "The accounts are frozen, all of them. Tom's suing me. What the hell is happening?" I looked up from my tea, calm, collected. The fake breakdown was over. "I don't know, honey. Maybe karma." He stared at me, really looked at me, saw that I was clear-eyed, steady, not broken. "Sarah, what did you do?" "Me?" I smiled. "I can barely balance a checkbook, remember? I'm too stupid to understand finances." His phone rang. Lisa. I could hear her screaming from across the room. "Someone contacted me, asked questions about the arrangement. Mark, what's happening?" "I'm handling it. You said she didn't know. You said we were safe." "Lisa, calm down. I'm coming to Chicago. We need to talk, face to face." She hung up. Mark looked at his phone like it was a bomb. Then it rang again. His business bank, then his personal bank, then his lawyer. Everyone calling with the same message. Accounts frozen, assets seized, investigation pending. "That weak woman?" I said softly, echoing his words from the recording. "She can barely balance a checkbook, right? Someone else must be doing this." His face went pale. You were listening." "I heard everything, Mark. Every lie, every plan, every cruel thing you said about me. Sarah, your lawyer's recorded. Lisa's recorded. Margaret's giving testimony. Tom's suing. The FBI's investigating your offshore accounts." I stood. "And I've been building this case for the last 3 weeks while you thought I was having a breakdown." Mark stumbled backward. "You can't. I'll fight this." "With what money? Everything's frozen. Every account, every asset. You can't even pay your lawyer." Emily will help me. Emily knows everything. She's on my side." The color drained from his face completely. His empire, built on my stolen inheritance, maintained through decades of lies, was crumbling, and I was the one holding the sledgehammer. "How?" he whispered. "You always underestimated me," I said. "Thought I was too broken, too weak, too stupid to see what you were doing." I walked toward him slowly. "But I've been watching, Mark, recording, documenting. For 28 years, you stole from me. For 3 weeks, I've been taking it all back. Sarah, please. The police are coming tomorrow. FBI's coming next week. Your business partner's lawyers are filing criminal charges. And Lisa?" I smiled. "She's about to learn that the woman she stole from isn't quite as manageable as you promised." Mark sank to the floor, defeated, destroyed, and I felt nothing but cold satisfaction. The trap had sprung perfectly. Now came the reckoning. The dining room felt different on Friday morning. Sterile, cold, like a courtroom disguised as a home. I'd arranged the chairs deliberately, Mark at one end of the table, Emily and I on one side, my lawyer, David Chen, Janet's recommendation, on the other. The manila folders stacked in front of me looked innocuous, innocent even. They contained 28 years of evidence. Mark arrived first, wary. He'd barely slept, I could tell. Eyes bloodshot, suit rumpled. The confident real estate mogul reduced to a panicked criminal who could feel the walls closing in. "What's this about, Sarah?" "Sit down." He sat. Emily arrived next, her expression carefully neutral. She kissed my cheek, ignored Mark completely. His face twitched, the first hint that he understood something fundamental had shifted. David arrived last. Briefcase, recording equipment, the professional armor of someone about to end a life. "Mr. Thompson, I'm David Chen, representing Mrs. Kuka Thompson in divorce proceedings and associated criminal matters." "Criminal?" Mark's voice cracked. "Sarah, what—" "Let me be very clear about what's happening here," I interrupted. My voice was steady, accounting precision. "I know everything, Mark. The affair with Lisa Martinez, the baby swap at Northwestern Memorial on March 15, 1997, the theft of my parents' $425,000 inheritance, the offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands, the embezzlement from Thompson and Rivera properties, the life insurance policy you took out on me 5 years ago, the monthly payments to Lisa totaling $1.78 million over 28 years, your plan to have me declared mentally incompetent and take everything in the divorce." Mark's face cycled through denial, shock, calculation. "You can't prove—" "I can prove all of it." I opened the first folder. "Here's your signed confession from Lisa Martinez, obtained through legal pretenses, admitting to the baby swap and ongoing fraud. Here's Margaret Chen's sworn affidavit, along with original hospital records showing the switch. Here's the forensic accounting report tracing every stolen dollar. Here's the recording of your conversation with your divorce lawyer, Richard Moss, discussing how to frame me as unstable." I slid each document across the table. Mark's hands shook, picking them up. "Here's Tom Rivera's lawsuit for embezzlement. Here's the FBI's notice of investigation into your offshore accounts. Here's Emily's police report about your attempted fraud." You've been planning this," Mark whispered. "The breakdown, it was fake. All of it. For 3 weeks. I watched you try to destroy me while I was actually destroying you." I leaned forward. "You thought I was too broken, too stupid. You said I couldn't balance a checkbook, remember?" "Sarah, I have an accounting degree, Mark. I spent 4 years learning how to trace money, how to build cases, how to catch thieves. You made me abandon that career, made me think I was incapable. But every single day for 28 years, I kept records, duplicates of everything, old habits." I smiled without warmth. "You trained me to be paranoid, then got mad when I was." Emily spoke for the first time. "How could you?" Her voice broke. "I'm not even yours. You stole Mom's real daughter and gave her some random woman's baby. For what? Convenience?" "Emmy, you don't understand." "I understand you tried to borrow $50,000 from me last month. I understand you were planning to frame Mom as crazy and take everything. I understand you're a liar and a thief, and I'm ashamed I ever called you Dad." Mark flinched like she'd slapped him. "Sarah, please." He turned to me, desperate now. "We can fix this. Go to therapy, work it out. I made mistakes, but—" "Mistakes?" My voice went cold. "You stole my child. You stole my money. You stole 28 years of my life. You gaslit me, isolated me, made me doubt my own sanity. You took out life insurance on me and waited for cancer to kill me. Those aren't mistakes, Mark. That's systematic abuse. I never hurt you. You hurt me every single day." I stood, voice rising despite my control. "Every time you lied about business trips. Every time you moved my money. Every time you looked at Emily like she was a problem to solve. Every time you made me feel like I was crazy for questioning you. You didn't hit me, but you hollowed me out from the inside." David placed a hand on my arm. Gentle reminder to stay controlled. I sat back down. "Here's what happens now," David said. Mrs. Thompson is filing for divorce on grounds of fraud, adultery, and abuse. She's also pursuing criminal charges for embezzlement, wire fraud, identity theft, and conspiracy. The FBI is investigating your offshore accounts. Illinois State Police are investigating the baby swap as potential kidnapping, and your business partner is suing you personally for $3.2 million in damages. Mark's breathing went shallow, rapid. He was having a panic attack. Good. You can't, he gasped. Sarah, I'm your husband. We have history. We have crimes, I corrected. You're not my husband. You're a criminal who happened to marry his victim. Sirens wailed in the distance. Growing closer, Mark's head snapped up. What did you do? I timed this meeting for exactly 10:47 a.m., I said calmly. At 10:45, arrest warrants were issued for fraud and embezzlement. The police should be arriving right about... The doorbell rang, not a polite social chime. Heavy official pounding. Police, we have a warrant! David stood, opened the door. 4 officers entered, followed by 2 FBI agents in suits. Mark tried to stand, stumbled, caught himself on the table. Mark Thompson! The lead detective held up a badge. You're under arrest for wire fraud, embezzlement, falsification of records, and conspiracy to commit fraud. This is insane. Sarah, tell them... I'm the one who filed the complaint, I said. They read him his rights. The words I'd fantasized about for 3 weeks, maybe longer, maybe 28 years, buried under Stockholm Syndrome and learned helplessness. You have the right to remain silent. Sarah, please, think about Emily, think about our family. Our family was never real, I said. It was built on a stolen baby and stolen money. You made sure of that. They cuffed him. Professional, efficient. The silver bracelets looked obscene against his expensive suit, the suit I'd unknowingly paid for with my parents' inheritance. One more thing, I said as they walked him toward the door. I'm testifying at your trial. So is Emily. So is Tom. So is Margaret. So is Lisa once she's arrested. Everyone you thought you controlled. We're all going to stand up and tell the truth. Mark looked back at me. Really looked. Saw what I'd become, not the broken woman he'd married, but something sharper, harder, forged in the fire of his betrayal. You built your empire on my ruins, I said quietly. Now watch it burn. They took him away. Emily collapsed into my arms, sobbing. David packed up his files. The house fell silent except for my daughter's tears. It's over, I whispered. It's finally over. But it wasn't. Not quite. The real reckoning was just beginning. The trial took 8 months. 8 months of testimony, evidence, cross-examinations, media circuses. Mark's face plastered across local news. Chicago real estate mogul arrested for multi-million-dollar fraud scheme. Lisa arrested in Scottsdale, extradited to Illinois. Margaret granted immunity in exchange for testimony. I watched from the gallery as my life was dissected for public consumption. Every painful detail, the stillbirth, the baby swap, the stolen inheritance, Mark's affairs, his manipulation, his calculated cruelty. Emily testified, voice shaking but strong. He tried to steal from me too, wanted $50,000 for a business opportunity. When I said no, he called me ungrateful. Tom testified, furious and professional. He forged Mrs. Thompson's signature on over 30 documents, used her identity to secure loans, then embezzled the money. He destroyed her trust and my business. Lisa testified under duress, granted reduced sentence for cooperation. He paid me $500,000 to disappear, said his wife would die of grief if she knew the truth. I thought I was helping, Margaret testified, crying. I facilitated the baby swap. Mr. Thompson paid me $50,000. I've regretted it every day for 28 years. I testified last, calm, factual, letting the numbers speak for themselves. $425,000 stolen from inheritance, $1.68 million paid to Lisa Martinez, $847,000 in traceable fraud and embezzlement, $2.1 million in total damages, not including emotional suffering. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. Guilty on all counts. Mark got 15 years in federal prison. No parole eligibility for at least 10. Lisa got 8 years. Margaret's immunity held. The judge ordered full restitution. Mark's business assets liquidated, offshore accounts seized and returned, total recovery of $1.9 million including damages and legal fees. When the verdict came down, I felt nothing. Not triumph, not relief, just emptiness where rage used to live. Justice, I learned, doesn't fill the holes that betrayal carves out. It just stops the bleeding. 6 months after the trial, I sat across from Sophia in a therapist's office. Dr. Rachel Morrison specialized in family trauma, adoption revelations, genetic surprises. She'd prepared Sophia over 3 sessions for what I was about to say. "Sophia," I began, hands shaking despite my preparation. "There's something you need to know about your birth." I told her everything. The affair, the stillbirth, the swap. How Mark had taken her from me and given me Lisa's daughter. How I'd spent 28 years raising Emily while Sophia grew up with the woman who'd sold her. Sophia's face went white, then red. Then she started crying, huge, racking sobs that shook her entire body. "You're my mother," she whispered, "my actual mother." Biologically, yes, and you knew this for months, while hiring me, while being nice to me. I wanted to know you before I told you, wanted you to see me as a person, not just as the woman whose baby was stolen. Does Emily know? Yes, she's been wonderful about it, says she gained a sister. Sophia laughed through tears. "I have a sister." "You have a mother too," I said carefully, "if you want one. I understand if you need time or space or—" She grabbed my hand. I've always felt like something was missing, like Lisa wasn't. I knew I didn't fit. Her coldness, her selfishness. I thought I was broken. She squeezed my fingers. But I wasn't broken. I was just with the wrong family. We cried together. Dr. Morrison provided tissues and gentle guidance about managing expectations, building relationships slowly, honoring the complexity of love and biology. "I set up a college fund for you," I said eventually. "From the recovered money, $200,000. Enough for a PhD in art history if you want it." Sophia stared. "Why would you? I'm not—" "You're my daughter. Biology doesn't need a relationship to make that true." I smiled. "But I'm hoping we can build one anyway." "I'd like that." She wiped her eyes. Can I call you Mom? Not yet, but someday." "Someday sounds perfect." Emily joined us afterward. The 3 of us, mother and 2 daughters, connected by love instead of lies, went to dinner. It was awkward, beautiful, painful, hopeful. "This is so weird," Emily said, laughing. "I have a sister who looks exactly like Mom did at 28. "I have a sister who actually knows how to do makeup," Sophia countered. "Trade?" They bonded over art and fashion and shared trauma. I watched my daughters, both of them, in every way that mattered, build a relationship that Mark's betrayal had tried to prevent. "You gave me life twice," Sophia said as we left the restaurant. "Once at birth, now a future. How do I even begin to thank you for that?" "You live it," I said simply. "You take that future and build something beautiful. That's thanks enough." 6 months later, I sat across from Janet at our favorite cafe, the same cafe where I'd interviewed Sophia, where I'd begun building something new from the ashes of Mark's destruction. "How's the firm?" Janet asked, sipping her latte. "Growing. 3 new clients this week." I'd opened Thompson Forensic Accounting 6 months ago, specialized in helping abuse victims trace hidden assets, catch financial criminals, build cases against controlling partners. Turns out there's high demand for someone who can find stolen money. "Wonder why?" Janet grinned. "You're using your trauma for good. That's healing." "It's also profitable." I laughed. Who knew revenge could become a business model? "It's not revenge at this point. It's justice." "Is there a difference?" Janet considered. "Revenge is emotional, personal, burns hot and leaves ash. Justice is calculated, systematic, Burns cold and leaves structure. She raised her cup. You chose justice. That's why you won. If you're watching this, I want you to understand something about revenge. People say it's poison. That seeking it makes you as bad as the person who hurt you, that you should forgive, move on, be the bigger person. Sometimes, that's true, but sometimes revenge isn't about poison. It's about medicine, about cutting out the rot so healthy tissue can grow, about refusing to let someone's lies become your truth. Mark stole 28 years of my life, my daughter, my money, my sense of self. He made me doubt my sanity, my worth, my reality. But he couldn't steal what I built from his ashes. Emily and Sophia have family dinners every Sunday now. They're teaching me to be less controlling, more vulnerable, helping me remember that not all relationships are built on lies. I returned to accounting, the career Mark made me abandon, opened my own firm, help other victims find their stolen assets and stolen selves. Do you regret it? Janet asked. The way you took him down? The planning? The deception? I thought about it. Really thought. No, I said finally. He spent decades making me feel weak, broken, manageable, taking him down, systematically, carefully, with evidence and precision that didn't make me like him. It made me myself again. The accountant who tracks every dollar. The woman who refuses to be erased. We finished our coffee. Talked about normal things. Upcoming cases, Emily's promotion, Sophia's graduate school applications, the mundane beauty of a life no longer controlled by someone else's lies. I lost 28 years to his deception, I said as we left, but I got myself back, and in the process, I gained 2 daughters, a career, and the knowledge that I'm stronger than anyone, including me, ever gave me credit for. Janet hugged me goodbye. You know what they should teach in schools? How to keep receipts, how to document abuse, how to build a case while pretending to fall apart. Accounting 101, I agreed, with a minor in strategic patience. I visited Mark once, only once. Federal Correctional Institution, 3 hours outside Chicago. Cold building, colder atmosphere. He looked smaller, older, gray hair, prison jumpsuit, the confident swagger completely gone. When they brought him to the visiting room, he could barely meet my eyes. Sarah. His voice cracked. You came. Closure, I said. That's all this is. We sat across from each other. Plastic table. Guard watching. Everything monitored, controlled. The way he'd tried to control me for 3 decades. How did you do it? Mark finally asked. I thought I was so careful, so smart. How did you catch everything? I leaned back, studied the man who'd stolen my life. You always said I was too weak to leave, that I needed you, that I couldn't survive alone. Sarah, but I wasn't trying to leave, Mark. I was building a case. Every receipt I saved, every statement I copied, every time you gaslit me about hotel charges or missing money, I documented it. For 28 years, you were stealing from me. For 28 years, I was collecting evidence. Understanding dawned on his face. Horror. You were always planning this. No, I wasn't planning anything. I searched for the right word. Surviving. And survival for women like me, women married to men like you, means keeping proof, keeping records. Because we know that when we finally tell the truth, no one will believe us without evidence. I never hit you, he said desperately. I never. You destroyed me in ways that don't leave bruises. I stood. That's almost worse, because people like you make us doubt our own reality, make us think we're crazy for noticing the lies, make us complicit in our own erasure. I'm sorry. No, you're not. You're sorry you got caught. I picked up my purse. But here's what you should know. Every day you spend in here, I'm out there building something beautiful. Emily and Sophia are sisters now. I have my own business. I help other women escape men like you. Your legacy is my freedom. I walked toward the door, paused. You thought you'd broken me, I said without turning around. but broken things can be reforged, made sharper, stronger, deadly. Sarah, please. Goodbye, Mark. I left, never looked back. Outside, the autumn air smelled like freedom, like possibility, like everything Mark had tried to steal and failed. If you've ever felt trapped by someone's lies, remember this. Patience and paper trails beat panic every time. Don't let anyone make you doubt your reality. Don't let them convince you that you're too weak, too stupid, too broken to fight back. You're not broken. You're gathering evidence. The best revenge isn't explosive. It's calculated, patient, built on receipts and recordings and the systematic destruction of everything they thought they controlled. Mark thought he'd won. For 28 years, he thought he'd gotten away with it. But the best revenge, the kind that really matters, it's the kind they never see coming. Which city are you from? Let me know in the comments if you agree with how I handled this, and if you or someone you know is experiencing financial abuse or manipulation in a relationship, please reach out for help. You're not alone, you're not crazy, and you're stronger than they'll ever give you credit for. Hit that subscribe button if you want more stories about justice, survival, and refusing to be erased, because every woman who escapes a Mark Thompson makes the world a little safer for the rest of us. Remember, keep your receipts, document everything, and never, ever let someone convince you that you're too broken to fight back. You're not broken. You're building a case.